indeed today everyone hears about energy transition, that is important, that it should be prioritized over other things, etc. Why is that? Why that urgency towards energy transition? From my point of view, at least, the answer is sort of threefolded. The obvious answer that everyone sees is the fact that climate change is here and not in some remote country, but everywhere, right? Florida, Barcelona, etc. I mean, we see that every day. Volatility of the weather is one of the biggest impact. So first is sort of energy transition as an answer to climate change to sort of mitigate the speed of climate change. Climate change is coming, I'm afraid. But yeah, we need to sort of limit it, basically. So the first answer is, okay, reaction to something that is happening, right, at the climate level. The other answer is at strategic level for countries to be autonomous from their sourcing of energy and sort of control also the price of that energy. So safety, security of the energy supply. I guess in Europe it's a bit in our face also, right? But it's true also for other countries like Japan, like the US, etc. You want to control as much as you can the price of your energy because so many things depend on that, right? And renewable energy, batteries, etc. helps you towards that, right? So that's sort of a more strategic answer. And then the last bit is the economic answer. Is that those technology like solar, wind, batteries, etc., they're going down in terms of costs. And now in many use cases, which was not true like 4 or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, they are the cheapest option versus diesel, versus gas, etc. So it's also that actually it makes sense even from an economic point of view, in many cases to say, okay, instead of using diesel to refrigerate some trailers, then now I start using batteries, right? It's, of course, by the way, it's better for the climate, but actually it's also the cheapest option. I started investing in clean tech and energy transition 20 years ago, and it was very niche market. Not many people would even know about clean tech and energy transition. Now it's true that if you go to institutional investor, pension funds, etc., they all know about energy transition, even at individual level, and they see it as a topic where they can deploy money, right? So from sort of being the tiny portion and a very niche thing of the investment spectrum, it became quite mainstream. Energy has always been a topic of investment, right? So it's not new that institutional investors are investing in energy. But it definitely switched from sort of oil and gas or carbonated things towards electrification and renewable, right? So this switch you can see in the numbers actually at worldwide level. The CapEx and investments, etc., in oil and gas is now below the CapEx in the grid, power grid, electrification, and renewable in general, right? So there's definitely a switch of all that big pocket of money towards something that is more towards energy transition or clean tech as a whole, right? So why is that switch? I would say, I mean, it's obviously driven by the returns and the expectation of returns, right, of those big institutional investors. It is sort of also about climate change and then how to mitigate climate change, etc. But you need to generate returns, otherwise they won't go into that direction anyway, right? So it's twofold. It's like, okay, there is a positive impact, but it's also that, okay, my expected returns are probably better here than in other things like oil and gas, for instance, right, on the long run. How should it evolve? Hopefully it would evolve. Now it's true that there is this shift. It started like 5-7 years ago, but it's still to grow. Basically, there is a lot of those same institutional investors that are still thinking a little bit about their investment strategy. Where do I want to invest? In which region? What kind of technology? At which level of maturity of the technology I want to invest, etc. We also had COVID and a bit of crisis, economic crisis in 2023. So those big institutional investors were sort of starting to think about a strategy when it comes down to energy transition and clean tech. Hold it for a little bit. So those guys, they still to put money in that sector. So my hope and my perception is that there will be more money willing to be invested in that sector than today. And so if there is more dry powder, if there is more money coming to funds and to startups, then of course there will be more money to fund innovation. To build a strong ecosystem and resilient ecosystem, to solve for the gaps and challenges of energy transition and the climate change, we need as stakeholders to all come together from time to time in person, discuss, iterate, face the challenges, solve for the gaps, etc. And discuss in person. That's very important because we have so many different angles to the same problem that sometimes we need to meet in person and to understand better where the other one is coming from. Governments, funds, startup, big corporates from the energy world, etc. Come together and then let's discuss and let's solve for the next 5 years problem, let's solve for the 10 years problem, right? And this is in events like BBVA Spark Summit that you can actually manage to get that ecosystem grow bigger and more resilient.